Bizarre inmates are like characters from a twisted novel, but they roam the prison's corridors with peculiar tales and eccentric behaviors. From the man who collects toenail clippings to fashion art, to the one who insists on speaking exclusively in rhymes, each day brings a new chapter in the bizarre chronicles of prison life. In today's video, I am going to show top 10 most bizarre inmates. Before starting, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more future updates. So let's start. Number 10. Charles Manson. Charles Manson was an American cult leader and convicted murderer who gained notoriety for his role in the Tate LaBianca murders in 1969. He led a group known as the Manson family, which he manipulated into committing heinous crimes. Manson was charismatic and believed in a bizarre apocalyptic vision called Helter Skelter, where he thought a race war would ensue. He and his followers believed they needed to incite this war through violence. Manson's trial was a sensation, and he was sentenced to life in prison. He died in 2017. His actions and charisma continue to fascinate and repulse people, making him one of the most infamous figures in American criminal history. Number 9. Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker. He was an American serial killer, rapist, and burglar who terrorized Southern California in the mid-1980s. He was known for his sadistic and brutal crimes, breaking into homes at night, and committing acts of violence and theft. Ramirez's crimes often involved satanic symbolism and left the community in fear. He was captured in 1985 and his trial garnered significant media attention. He was convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, and numerous other charges. Number 8. Elen Waros. Elen Waros was an American female serial killer who gained infamy in the late 1980s and early 1990s. She murdered 7 men while working as a prostitute in Florida, claiming self-defense and a history of sexual assault as her motive. Waros' case received considerable media attention due to the rare occurrence of a female serial killer. She was convicted and sentenced to death, ultimately executed in 2002. Her life and crimes were the subject of documentaries and films, shedding light on her troubled past and the complex issues surrounding her actions, including discussions about the death penalty and the treatment of abused women in the criminal justice system. Number 7. David Burkowitz. David Burkowitz, famously known as the Son of Sam. He was an American serial killer who terrorized New York City in 1976 to 1977. Burkowitz claimed that he was commanded to commit murder by his neighbor's dog, which he believed was possessed by a demon. He targeted young couples, shooting and killing several people and wounding others in a series of random and seemingly motiveless attacks. The media frenzy surrounding the case and the taunting letters he sent to the police added to the panic in the city. Burkowitz was captured in 1977, and he later confessed to his crimes. Number 6. Richard Chase. Richard Chase, known as the Vampire of Sacramento. He was an American serial killer and one of the most chilling figures in criminal history. In the late 1970s, Chase committed a series of gruesome murders in California. He earned his nickname due to his bizarre obsession with blood and his practice of drinking the blood of his victims. Chase believed that by consuming blood, he could prevent his own blood from turning to powder. His crimes included not only murder but also acts of cannibalism and necrophilia. Chase's horrifying actions led to his capture and subsequent imprisonment. He was found guilty of 6 counts of murder and was sentenced to die in the gas chamber, but committed suicide in his prison cell in 1980. Number 5. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer, often referred to as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster. He was a notorious American serial killer and sex offender. Active in the 1980s and early 1990s, Dahmer lured, murdered, and dismembered 17 young men. He was also known for engaging in acts of necrophilia and cannibalism with his victims. Dahmer's gruesome crimes shocked the world, and his Milwaukee apartment became a house of horrors filled with body parts and evidence of his crimes. He was eventually captured in 1991 and sentenced to 16 life terms in prison. In 1994, he was killed by a fellow inmate while incarcerated. Number 4. Ted Kinsky. Ted Kinsky, known as the Unabomber. He was an American domestic terrorist who carried out a nationwide bombing campaign targeting individuals associated with technology and industrialization from 1978 to 1995. A former mathematics professor, Kinsky's extreme anti-technology beliefs led him to write a manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, which outlined his philosophy. He was apprehended in 1996, and his arrest revealed a vast trove of evidence in his remote Montana cabin. Kinsky pleaded guilty to all charges and received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Number 3. Albert Fish. Albert Fish, often called the Gray Man or the Werewolf of Wisteria. He was a deeply disturbed and sadistic American serial killer and cannibal active in the early 20th century. He was known for his gruesome crimes, which included the abduction, torture, and murder of young children. Fish not only killed his victims, but also confessed to acts of cannibalism and extreme brutality. His case shocked the nation, and his bizarre letters to the parents of his victims detail the horrifying acts he committed. Fish was captured, put on trial, and eventually sentenced to death. He was executed in the electric chair in 1936. Albert Fish remains one of the most disturbing and heinous figures in the annals of American crime, a true embodiment of pure evil. Number 2. Ed Gein. Ed Gein, often referred to as the Butcher of Plainfield. He was an American murderer and body snatcher who lived in rural Wisconsin in the mid-20th century. His gruesome crimes and bizarre behavior served as inspiration for numerous fictional characters in horror and thriller literature and film, including Norman Bates in Psycho and Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Gein was known for exhuming corpses from graveyards and crafting various items, including clothing and furniture, from the remains. In 1957, authorities discovered his macabre collection and arrested him. He was found guilty but declared legally insane, spending the rest of his life in a mental institution. Ed Gein's case remains an enduring source of fascination and dread, as it blurs the lines between reality and the darkest realms of fiction. Number 1. Robert Strad. Robert Strad, widely known as the Birdman of Alcatraz. He was a notorious American prisoner who achieved notoriety for his fascination with birds. Strad was originally incarcerated for manslaughter and murder, but is primarily remembered for his life in prison, especially during his time at Alcatraz. While in prison, Strad raised and studied birds, becoming an expert in ornithology. He authored 2 books on the subject. Strad was portrayed as a somewhat sympathetic character of the 1962 film Birdman of Alcatraz, but in reality, he had a violent and difficult past. He spent most of his life in prison, and his research on birds led to his transfer to Alcatraz. Strad was not allowed to have birds at Alcatraz, despite the popular image, but he did continue his studies. He spent a total of 54 years in prison before dying in 1963. Robert Strad's life became a symbol of transformation and rehabilitation in the penal system, though his story remains complex and multifaceted. This is it for today's video. What do you think of our video? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more future updates. Thanks for watching.